Okay, let's do this. You're used to sitting in class. Can I borrow this? How's that? Did I get it all? Did I miss anything? The Kabbalah is, I want to tell you about this first because then we can talk about me and what I do. The Kabbalah is a matrix, a glyph of the macrocosm and the microcosm. So there's this is the 12, referred to as the 12 emanations of God as well, that came into the to this manifest reality. And you can say, well, can you count? There aren't 12 Sephro here. There's the Ein Sof, which is up here, which is not shown on the tree. And there's volumes and volumes written on the Kabbalah, and it's very complicated, but you can understand it very simply if you have any point of reference. If you have an understanding of color, of numerology, of astrology, let's begin with that. Malkuth is also given the number 10, which is a new beginning, which is manifest reality. It's associated with the planet Earth. If you know anything about astrology, it's associated with Taurus. And those are the glyphs for that. And this path is called, and most of the people who would be called mass consciousness are operating right here. If I can't taste it, touch it, feel it, see it, it doesn't have any reality for me. And that's what's happening at Malkuth. In your personal landscape, you have a Malkuthian aspect. And that Malkuthian aspect, you can actually, in visualization through, you could do all kinds of things. We could get newspapers out, or magazines out here, and you could cut out pictures, and you could do a paste up for me, and we could talk about your Malkuthian, your own personal Malkuthian aspect. So this is a living tree. It's not an abstract study. It's very, very concrete. And you can work with it, and you can change your reality, and you can, it's used in advertising. If the right colors are available there in the advertising, you will buy the product. And so it has very practical applications. This has 4 colors associated with it. I think it's citrine, green, yellow, kind of earth, what they call tertiary colors. So if you do a piece of artwork, and you can use a lot of the good artwork that you see is done in what they call tertiary colors, those blended colors, and it works, and it comes out of Malkuth and it sells. I do some artwork too, and so you can, you learn all this stuff. At Esod, which is this Sephro, it's the number 9. 9 has to do with completions. 10 zeroes out to a 1 because you add the 0 and the 1 together and you get a 1 and it's a new beginning. 9 is a completion number. In Esod, Esod is associated with the moon and the color violet. It's also where your belief system is installed. And your belief system is way down here in the tree. And your belief system, we are defined by our experience. So we have these experiences, we have these beliefs, and then the beliefs recreate the experience. And that's where it's coming from. It's coming out of Esod. It's very low on the tree. As we're going along here, if you have questions, please feel free. From there, you go to Hod. Hod has to do with the lower mind, the number 8, which is a business number. It has to do with the intellect. It has to do with the color orange. So if you are selling something to business, you are going to use the color orange in your graphics or your designs or whatever, because they'll buy it. That's where they come from. You go across the tree. Incidentally, this is what is called the lightning path. And when we do work with Kabbalah, that's how we work, because it's the safest, easiest way to work. The mystics of old and the mystics of present time, they will shoot the central pillar. They will do the mystical. They will sit in silence and they will let go of all of their experience, and they will just simply go for this spiritual run. And if it works, it's great, and we never hear of them again, and they transform and do whatever they do. And if they don't, they fall back down here, and then we see them out on the street because they can't get it together anymore. So Hod is the lower mind. It's the intellect. has to do with the number 8. You go across the tree to Netzah, which has to do with the emotions, and the number 7. Now, if you have a relationship and you're a woman in relationship with a guy, a lot of the relationship is about, this is what I feel about what you think, and this is what I think about what you feel. That's what happens. He says, this is what I think, and you say, but this is how I feel. And the relationship is conducted across this part of the tree. This part of the tree. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it's a fact. And this is Tifareth. Tifareth has to do with your soul self. This number is 7. It's green, the color that is associated. And you could see it. Tom did this tree for me, and the colors are on there. It has to do with green. Has to do with your emotional nature. If you've done any therapy, it has to do with your child ego state, all of that kind of thing. Tifareth has to do with the soul self. And often, whatever people's concept of God is about is often based on what is going on at Tifareth. God is actually right up in the Ein Sof and is undefinable and unimaginable and inaccessible in many ways. But people tend to bring it down into terms they can understand. Also, what's going on at Tifareth is when people talk about connecting with their higher self. That's what they're doing. They're going to Tifareth and starting to connect with that. It's associated with the color yellow, it is associated with the sun, and it is associated with the number 6. Then you go to Gebra. And Tom described this as destruction. It has to do with the planet Mars, has to do with the color red. It often will tell you a great deal about your own repressed angers, what you are angry about. It will also put you in touch with what your values are and what is really valuable to you. Not what society says or your religion says or mom said or dad said, but what's really valuable to me. Across from Gebra, it's the planet Mars, it's red. Across from Gebra is Hesed. Hesed is called the lawgiver. It's unconditional love. It's the higher mind. It has to do with the planet Jupiter and with the zodiac sign Sagittarius. And more importantly, it's the higher mind, where this is the intellect and the lower mind. And this is the Sephiro that you're connecting with when all of a sudden you know something. It's not reasonable, it doesn't fit in your current plan, but you know, and you're going to go there and you're going to do this. And that's where it's coming from. It's coming out of Hesed. When you go to Bina, you go across the abyss. This is Doth, and Doth is hidden knowledge, and that's where you meet all your unresolved stuff. And I'm talking about this in a personal way because I think that's what's really important about Kabbalah, that we can apply it and use it. And we have a diagram that we can look at, that we can understand, and we can understand where things are coming from. When you come out of Doth, you go into Bina. Bina is the supernal mother. And she puts form on the energy, and she also has to do with Saturn. The planet Saturn, she has to do with Capricorn, so she's the one that puts the boundaries. She says, you can't go here and you can't do this, and we all have those voices in our head that say, no, don't go there, don't do that, and that's where it's coming from, out of Bina. And it's often imprinted and learned behavior. We've seen somebody else do it and it worked for them. Mom did it and we were dependent upon her for our survival. Therefore, we will be doing that for right now. You know how that works. Over here is Hokmah, and he's called the supernal father. And that's on a personal level. Are there any questions about that? More information than you wanted. Please.
What is the astrological sign associated with the Netzach?
It is Venus, and it will be Libra. And you probably all know your zodiac sign, so you can say this Sephiro will talk to me and that one won't, and I know more about this one and that one. But it's a fascinating, wonderful, transformative study, and the work that I do is based on that.
You said with the number system on the bottom it's 10 because 1 plus 0 equals 1, which is a new beginning. So is the Kether the new beginning?
Kether is, you're coming from the spiritual point. There's a huge Keter-Malkuth connection. And often people who are very grounded in their bodies and have a real spiritual connection, you'll see tremendous power and charisma with them. And so the one up here, it starts to repeat itself down here.
So do they fall essentially and then go back up the tree, or
This is the involution as the fall occurred, and now we're in evolution, we're coming back out again.
so it's a repetitive state?
And these trees stack one on top of another. You will have an emotional tree, a briatic tree. They're Hebrew words, and what it means is there's an emotional tree, there's a mental tree, there's a physical tree, and there's a spiritual tree, and they will stack up. And it's called Jacob's ladder.
What order do those go in, or is it different?
It starts with the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Because the emotional is most connected to the spiritual. Often people think it's the mental, but it's not, because you can't control it. And you feel what you feel. You often can't justify it, but you feel what you feel. And that leads you into the spiritual. So when people start to walk an accelerated spiritual path, the first thing they have to do is do the work with their emotional body.
So this is all has Hebrew origins, and is it from? So if it was was it a part of Judaism? And how, if it was, how did it? I don't understand. Like, I guess how Jewish people are the way they are today, and all of their history, and how this is if this is connected to them. How did it get put off to the side?
In the time of the burning of the Library of Alexandria, which I believe is Justinian, isn't that right? This teaching originally comes out of Hermetic doctrine, and it comes out of Egypt, actually, originally. And so they were doing all of this burning of all this stuff, and so the metaphysicians of that period of time decided to bury this so it wouldn't be lost. And they put it in a text called the SFA Lecture, which was implanted in the Talmud. And that's how it came to be in the Jewish, but it was a plant. And they put it in the tarot cards. And the tarot card, and they gave it to the gypsies. And the tarot cards are a pictorial text of the Kabbalah, if you know how to work with the tarot cards. They're not really about fortune telling, although that's how they're used often.
So then part of that, I mean, because like, I know that the Jews take a lot of their practice out of the Old Testament. And the Old Testament, warns people of consulting mediums and stuff like that, but it seems like this stuff almost crosses that line.
Well, it does. And so then if you go to a traditional Orthodox Jewish person, they won't discuss it with you.
Right.
They won't even go there, and they won't even discuss with you the text of the Sefer Yetzirah. In one of my Kabbalah classes, I one time had the bright idea that we were going to go through this Sefer Yetzirah and work with it, and the class blew up. I mean, it just didn't work. Because it's too close to the original and to the truth of it all. It's very powerful. The Egyptians used it, but it was planted in the Jewish tradition, and it was given to the gypsies because they thought no one would bother it there, and it worked. And then later, the Jewish rabbis, and I don't remember the dates, began to explore this, and several of them went mad in the process of the work, and that's when there really became a taboo about it and not discussing it. But if you go to a rabbi or something like that, very, very few of them will discuss it with you.
There is a mystical Judaism, but it's certainly not a mainstream part of Judaism.
It's totally, this is so potent. This will impact your immediate lives just from what we've done here today. We've probably done too much, but anyway.
Is any of this in the older traditions tied to the practice of alchemy?
Oh, sure. Sure. And you can go and read about it in some of the books, yeah.
What were the astrological signs for each one?
The astrological signs?
Yeah.
Okay. Taurus, Cancer, Gemini.
Not too fast, we can't write that fast.
Okay.
Gemini is hot.
Yes. Netzah will be Libra. Do you want the planets too? the planets that rule that sign, or do you know them? See, this is the language that I happen to be fluent in, so forgive me. Taurus is going to be ruled by the Earth. Cancer will be ruled by the Moon. Gemini will be ruled by Mercury. Libra will be ruled by Venus. The Sun rules Leo. Gebra is Mars and Aries. Hesed is going to be Jupiter and Sagittarius. Bina is going to be Saturn and Capricorn. Hokmah is going to be Aquarius and Uranus. Keter is going to be Neptune and Pisces. And if you explore this, you're going to find that there is a discussion about which one goes between Hokmah and Keter. But this is the interpretation that I'm most comfortable with.
What was the name of that small book you were talking
SFA Lecture. It's S-E-F-E-R Yetzirah. Y-E-T-Z-E-R. Is that how it is, or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
So with the astrological signs, so like say you're born in a month and each person is a different one, does that directly relate maybe their personality to each part?
But you're going to have to consider the whole chart. You're going to have to consider the whole chart. So, but yes, that is a place to begin. You could say, I am a Leo, and I'm ruled by the sun, and I like to shine, and I like to talk to everybody, and I want everybody to love me. It's Leo. Very good. That was cool. Okay, Scorpio goes here, and we put Pluto here. It's ruled by Pluto. Virgo, somebody might tell you Virgo is here, but I believe that Virgo is ruled by the asteroids, and that it's a planet that blew up. And if you know any Virgos, a Virgo can't prioritize. They cannot do it. Everything's important, and we need to get it all done today. And Virgos have trouble. They are the jack of all trades. They can do lots of things, and they don't do anything to, it's very difficult for them to engage and to excel. They may have the talent and the ability, but they have this difficulty with focus. I'm not crying. My eyes water. It drives me crazy. Okay? So Virgo's going to run around in this tree. And Virgo's going to say, tell me how this works. But I don't want to make a watch. I just want to know what time it is. That's a Virgo.
Mentioned that you said it was 5 trees, either physical, your mental, emotional, and spiritual.
4.
4 trees, sorry. How is it each of these 11 or 12 elements are inside of each tree, or how does that work? Or those are all part? Because I mentioned, you can tell you go through your physical, your mental, emotional, and spiritual through this one itself. So do you have, is it all 4 of those incorporated in one, or is it each 4 has its own?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because it's a macrocosm, microcosm dynamic. So you will have one of these trees for each one of those emotional bodies. But you will start out working this tree, and these colors we have given you are for the Briatic plane, which is the mental plane, because if we wheel out the spiritual, the emotional plane, pretty soon you're all going to be floating up to the ceiling, and you won't be able to focus. So we work from the Briatic plane, the mental plane, but there are trees for each, and when people first start, you just go to the tree and you start to work with it, and you work with it through the mental plane because people can stay focused. But if you read Diane Fortune immediately, she's going to talk to you about these levels and about how these trees interact. I have this wonderful diagram at home that I nearly went crazy before I finished it. But I took this tree and I set 4 of them together and showed how they interconnected and colored them appropriately and all that sort of stuff. But there are 4 trees for each, the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, and they superimpose on one another. And then, each one of these sephro, you can do another little thing where each one of these sephro have their own personal tree. So the Kabbalah is this huge expanding study. And of all the things I've studied numerology and astrology and all kinds of Eastern religions and done all of these crazy things and, Vipassana meditations and I'm a person who can't sit still. So 7 hours of sitting still in silence is like the ultimate torture. Of all the things I've studied, if I were going to have someone start out and tell them to put their time in, this is the thing to put your time into. Because you can translate it into so many other things. And you can learn so much about yourself and your own inner dynamics by interacting with this. It's a very powerful study, yes?
Is Kether and Hod, are they actual deities, or is it like in Hinduism, how you have the one god when all the other gods trickle down from that one, like they each have a part of it.
They're like aspects.
They are each expressions of God. They are I don't know how to explain it. This is Geburah, so this is Jehovah. This is the Jehovah energy, and this is where the Old Testament was coming from. This is Yahweh, which is what the whole Jesus the Christ concept is about. The love energy is coming in. So these are all different emanations of God. And so they aren't deities so much. It's as if it's a blueprint, and then you can put your personal energies on it and understand them, or you can put the macrocosmic energies, you can put the solar system on it, you can put color on it, you can put anything. So it's as if it's a universal translator. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. My other question is, how do you worship?
How do I worship?
Well, is it a personal thing? Like, say you and Tom, obviously have the same faith. So, do you guys have the same structure, or is it?
How do I worship?
Is your goal is to worship Kether, or is it to worship the person below him, or? I'm just curious. Like in Christianity, you worship God. In Hinduism, you have your gods. But is it more of a belief system, or is it an actual?
This is more of a belief system. It's not a religion. It's a way to approach life. It isn't about.
It's not worshiping a single or many deities.
No.
Give me a throw.
How do I worship? It's very complicated, and it changes from day to day.
I have sort of 3 questions. What are those 4 trees again?
Physical, your body, the mental, what you see as your intellect or your ego state, your emotions, your creative side, your child ego state, whatever, and your spirituality, whatever your spiritual practice is.
And then my other 2 questions pretty much kind of center on the Da. That one doesn't have a number. Is there a reason for that?
Because it's called the hidden Sephro. And it is hidden knowledge, and it is all of your unresolved stuff. And George Lucas in Star Wars, he studied with, Joseph Campbell. And a lot of what he did in Star Wars was based on the Kabbalah. And did you see Star Wars? Yeah, okay. So when Luke Skywalker is in the tunnel and he meets Darth Vader, who is actually his father, that is a Doth experience, where you meet your unresolved issues and they are not anything of what you thought they really were.
Okay, so because it's not really concrete, there's no number, there's no...
Right, and it's called the hidden Sephiroth, and the truth is that if you see it, you see, I took great liberty with this. I studied Kabbalah. They don't show it, just like they don't show the Ein Sof.
Is it more of a transition than anything?
Yes, and it's called the Great Abyss, and when you go across here, you meet all of your unresolved stuff. You know, you think you've got it nailed, and you're going to go and you're going to do this great thing, and you get into it, and all of a sudden, there you are. There's your wall, happily to meet you once again.
How does that relate to being a Scorpio?
Well, think about Scorpio. Are you a Scorpio?
No, a friend of mine is.
Okay. Scorpios can endure pain like no other sign in the zodiac. You ever seen two Scorpios in a bad marriage? Oh my gosh. They can do it for 99 years. And Scorpio comes forth on 5 levels, actually. So Scorpio is on huge spectrum of experience. And they can go from the lowest to the highest. And if they don't get too sidetracked with drugs, you know, it'll be, you know, they can really do some interesting things. And they're ruled by the planet Pluto. And Pluto is the great X-lax of the zodiac, you know, it just sweeps everything out of the way. But the good news is Pluto will replace itself.
So they can, so like they're sort of the opposite maybe of like the Virgo, where they can kind of concentrate and focus.
Oh yeah, they can, you know, they can burn chrome off of a bumper, you know, they.
So then because I'm sure when people tell you their zodiac, you can kind of already assume some things about them and the type of person they are. But what do you do when you meet people whose personalities don't fit their zodiac?
Then you go to their rising sign, because you really want to look at their rising sign. That's what where their personality is coming from. When you read your astrology in the newspaper, you're reading about your rising sign. So you want to know what your rising sign. It isn't just your sun sign. It's a whole chart. It's like saying, it's like an engine in a car, right? It's 8 cylinders, but what kind of carburetor have you got, you know?
I actually had 2 questions. One, going back to you talking about it being a like a universal translator. So with like, because everybody has, most people have some sort of background in religion, like their parents' religion. Would you say that this tree is something you can look at and you can go back to like some of the major figures within your religion and say, okay, like with the Hinduism, we had to talk about Hinduism, and there's certain gods that you said are in your particular, that you worship, and so could she, I mean, in
yes.
that instance, you can go to the tree and say, okay, these are the ones that, but how does that affect if they were going to start looking at...
Or you can look what the missing piece is. You can also look, you know, you can walk into a Catholic church. Catholic church is a Kabbalistic tree, is a Kabbalistic religion. And if you walk in the tree, what do you walk in? You walk in, and here's the in the old churches. In the vestibule, you come up the stairs, and here you have the vestibule, and you always have Mary on this side and Joseph on that side, and they have a big dome in the middle, and, you know, it's all there. So you can take a religion and put it on there and find out the missing pieces. And, for example, in advertising, if you're doing an advertising spread and something's not right, you can put it on the tree and say, we're missing Hesed, so we'll put Hesed in there.
I was just interested in meeting your friend.
Katumi. Okay. Yes, I can do that. Let me just tell you a little bit about me. This was really important. It's not what I came here for, but you'll get a lot more mileage out of that than anything else we might have done. My background is, my educational background is in administration of justice, and I used to work for the court system. I rode and trained horses from, I started to ride when I was 5, and I stopped when I was 55. I rode dressage, and if you know what that is, you make the horse dance. I rode cutting horses and barrel raced and did all that stuff too. I'm a weaver, and I have a lot of, I to this day still do artwork which sells and people like and all that good stuff. The channeling process for me was kind of a byproduct of my life. I'm not particularly attached to it. I do it. I have a very broad base of clients that I work for on a personal level, and I teach classes across the country. Most of them, we telecommunicate on the phone. They get a speakerphone, and I do the class, and there we go. Do you have any questions about it? And I'll do it. I go into an altered state of consciousness, which for me is very much like going to sleep. I will not remember the process. This is not unique to myself. Channeling has been going on for eons. It requires somebody who's generally pretty anchored in their body and pretty, if you're going to do it for a long period of time like I have, I've done it since 1985, you've got to be pretty stable as a person. And I am. I do my life. I raised 3 sons that are all bigger than I am, and you know, that kind of thing.
Who is Katumi? What is his?
Katumi, you can get books about him. He ascended in the 1800s. He is reported to have been various personalities throughout history, which he really doesn't talk about or go into. And what he is actually interested in is people transforming and becoming their most potent and powerful selves. That's what he's interested in. And that's the basis of the work we do, helping people to clear their blocks and be willing to be who they are. I would like for you to consider something. We have a brief time. I wish we had more time. It's always very enjoyable when we do have more time. And I want to thank you for having us come here. It is our honor. And your country here is very beautiful. What would I give you in this brief time? All right, let us begin. There are many things that you can learn about in the world, and there are many ideas that are available and ways of being, and they all have their place. They all serve someone. But what is most important for you to know at this time in your experience is that your own unique expression is the most important and the most beneficial and the most significant thing that you can engage with. Your own unique expression, whatever that is for you. And there isn't any right or wrong to it or good or bad to it, but that who you are and your embracing of who you are is what makes a difference in the world. The world loves authenticity. The world loves it. It doesn't care, particularly whether it's negative or positive, but it loves authenticity. And I would encourage you to be willing to be your most authentic self. Never mind what the world thinks about it. It's none of their business anyway, and it's none of your business what they think. And here is one of the ways that you might get there. Thought begets action. Action results in character, and character creates destiny. And that's how you get there. What do you think about in your moments of stress, your moments of tiredness, your moments of awakening or going to sleep? What do you think about? Because those thoughts are the thoughts that will become action in your life experience in one way or another. And those thoughts will create your character. And therefore, that will be your destiny. It's not what you think you will become. It's what you think about becoming. It's what you think about. And you may say, well, if I learn to govern my thoughts, and I learn to manage what I think about, what then? What then? What do I think about when I gain control over that? It's not just running off. You know, sometimes, you know what we think about? We think about, well, none of you are that old, but the mother that's been dead for 20 years and you're still fighting with her. You know, it's so pointless. And what kind of action does that result in? It gives us something to think about. Beyond that, beyond thought, action, character, destiny. What is my guidepost? How do I walk my path? I walk my path by finding out what it is I want. Not what the neighbors want, not what mother wants, not what father wants, not what the spouse wants, not what society wants, but what do I want? And when I've come into an understanding of that, then I begin to follow those wants like stepping stones, and they will lead me to my destiny. And if I remember that there is a tenet, and I can accept that thought begets action, action creates character, and character results in destiny, then when I get in touch with what I want, and I begin to explore that and follow that, I know that it will become manifest. Now then, why do people not do what they want? And why do they not embrace what they want? And why do they not follow what they want? Because if I already have an experience that is uncomfortable or not satisfying or difficult, I know how to manage that. I know how to relate with that. And when I move into these new areas of having what I want, the challenges are different. The behavior is different. The things that I have to learn are different. And I'm not comfortable, and I don't like it. So I'll go back over here where it's not so good, but it's known, it's comfortable. And so I would encourage you to go where it's not known and it's not comfortable, but it's more satisfying.
You talk about your thoughts and then getting control of your thoughts. How does intuition play into listening to your thoughts or not?
Well, intuition, it comes from a different place. And it's almost as if it comes over the top of the head and you have this intuition that I should do this or I should go there. And then I begin to think, and I think, well, it's too much trouble and I don't have enough money and I don't have enough time and I'm tired and all of that kind of thing. So you want to follow that intuition. That will lead you to what it is you want, to what your core experience is all about. Did I answer your question? I have frightened them. Some of them still aren't breathing. I'm waiting for them to tip over. Would you have a question?
Well, I was actually thinking about like the different religions, and so when you think of established religions, are they an impediment in your mind to like this kind of development, or are they a help, or?
Oh no, I think I believe in divine order. And I believe they are there and they are serving who they are serving, and there is everyone is learning something. You know, you come onto this physical plane to gain experience. As long as you're gaining experience, everything is going wonderfully.
Why do they fight? I mean, I imagine that I think that's going to be kind of a focus of this class. Is why is there so much struggle between the various religions?
Well, don't you think it's investment in, I put my time and energy into this and I must be right. And if I suddenly realize that perhaps you are right, that feels invalidating, that feels like I've wasted my time, I'm wrong, all of those things, rather than saying all of these things, you know, isn't there an expression, all roads lead to Rome? Well, all leads to the Creator, and I don't believe that the Creator is going to say, well, this religion is better than I don't believe that at all. I believe they all serve individuals where they are in their specific development and what they are trying to learn. Perhaps to think about that, because you know you can change things in the twinkling of an eye, simply by shifting your consciousness. Simply by shifting your consciousness. You are far more than you perceive yourselves to be. And I would encourage you to explore that. Thank you very much for having us here.